On today's video, we are working on this right rear foot, and as you can see, it's already oozing before we even start. Welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. Now, a lot of times when you see me removing large chunks of hoof horn, it's because there's areas of separation up underneath there. These first few layers that I'm taking away are not because of that. This here is just some incomplete shedding. Naturally, this hoof wants to shed away, but because it's hydrated, it doesn't always do that. So that's what's happening here. That little mark that I just saw, that is the real culprit, that is the real problem. From there on, there will be some separation, and we'll get to that soon. So what exactly are we dealing with here? This is what's known as a sole fracture or a heel ulcer. And typically we're going to find these on the medial claw, and unlike your traditional sole ulcer, which is caused from pressure being put straight down on the claw by the pedal bone inside the foot, these are more often related with shear type forces, where that heel is actually, that hoof horn is actually pulled away from that heel. So we end up with an area of separation under here, kind of works back this hoof horn at about a 45-degree angle toward that heel. You'll see that better in a minute. We zoom in here, you can see we've got some fluid up behind that. So as we trim this away, you're gonna see there's a large area of separation and a large area that we need to try to get to heal up here. Now I know at this point in the trim that all of that hoof horn at the heel has been released, and I could technically take that away in one giant slab. What I'm doing here is thinning that hoof horn down so that when I make these circular cuts, I'm able to lift that hoof horn away from the corium underneath. Allows me to do this much safer. You're just beginning to be able to see that heel ulcer up underneath that sole. And as you're about to see, as we remove all of this, it's much more than meets the eye at this point. I'm working slowly and deliberately as I work around this area because it's hard to explain, but as you go through different consistencies of hoof horn, that knife will have a tendency to, you'll meet resistance when you get through the wall section, like right here. But as soon as you enter that soft heel bulb area, that knife can zip through there. So you got to be real careful, have measured amounts of resistance, because certain points of that cut, you're going to need to put a little bit more force when you're going through that outside wall. But when we're dealing with this area here in the heel, it takes almost nothing to remove that hoof horn. So you got to be measured with your knife work so that you remove what needs to be with the right amount of force so that knife doesn't zip into places that it shouldn't be. This hoof horn near the top, it can almost get to the point of being so soft that it's hard to cut, if that makes any sense. It's hard to explain, but it's almost like it's gooey. It's strange. But the firmer the hoof horn, this area here cuts like butter. It's perfect, just like it should be. But that when you get some of that really super hydrated hoof horn, it actually becomes more difficult to cut through, which seems odd, but it's true. I think it goes without saying, this one is definitely going to need a block. So we're going to get that on here, and we'll give you a good close-up and you can see what's going on in that heel bulb. As promised, we'll give you a view of that heel bulb. You will see all the different areas that are affected here. Now for the thorough clean down before we get this all wrapped up.
You're going to be taller than me. You 16? Too bad you can't hear this conversation.
Kind of a funny moment right there. That farmer was talking to my son, who helps me in the summer, and apparently they were making fun of me and knew that because I had my earphones on, I couldn't hear him. Well, joke's on them. I had the camera rolling. Here you go. You can see this much better now as this area is all washed away, cleaned up. Now it's time to get that salicylic acid wrap in place. That's going to help slough away any of that damaged area, any of that tissue there that might not be in good shape. It's going to allow that to slough away, and then new hoof horn can form and she'll be good as new.